What if breath is the bridge between worlds, between the experience and what we can put into words? I'm inviting you today to explore with me the practice of using breath to access pre-verbal inner knowing as a natural and accessible tool to integrate extraordinary experiences that exist beyond our ordinary language. And whether you had such experiences yourself or work with those who have, I hope this exploration offers both practical but also scientific grounding for this important work to help raise our awareness about these extraordinary experiences and what transformation post such events makes for us individually but also collectively as humanity. And on this photo, taken on September 16th, 1994, you see an astronaut, Mark Lee, completely untethered, not connected, walking in space, testing extra vehicle activity, which is a rescue suit called SAFER. And people like Mark came back having such profound experiences that changed their worldview, their belief systems, and their relationship to themselves and to others, and what they want to do for the rest of their life changes. And you must know astronauts who communicate about these profound experiences for the majority of their life. And for the 25 years, which is, I can't believe, is a quarter of a century, as a cognitive engineer, which is a person who understands how cognition or our thought processes work, I focused on helping people to articulate their experiences, whether coming back from space missions, flying new type of aircraft, or saving lives in surgical theater, and helping these experts to communicate their pre-verbal inner knowing, translating pilots' thoughts into clear, helpful information to put on the displays, or to make them intuitive to fly modern aircraft. And these are the aircrafts that now we all fly with our families to travel for holidays or for work. And also helping astronauts articulate how they problem solve so that this could be passed on for other missions, and designing training programs for astronauts to be efficient and safe on space missions, and also helping surgeons to transfer rapidly their expertise, their professional knowing, often intuitive and very much on the surface before they're able to articulate it into words. And as a former director for Center for Space Medicine at University College London, I worked with global space agencies and also as a chair of the UK Space Agency Science Working Group, and have been communicating to public as a BBC Science presenter. And through all these roles, I have been immersed in the scientific exploration of our human potential. How can we improve ourselves, and how can we articulate these unusual knowledge and experiences, often that happen only once in a lifetime? And my personal curiosity about our potential has taken me to physical extremes. And I started with skydiving. Actually, I started more with martial art. And then I was exploring variety of skydiving activities, such as aerobatics while you are falling down for 1 minute and have to do all sorts of maneuvers and being watched through a telescope to measure how precisely you turn and stop, and became a champion skydiver, plummeting through clouds, which I don't recommend going through clouds. They feel fluffy, but not when you're falling through them. Been jumping from aircrafts and helicopters. Trained as a rescue scuba diver because I wanted to understand how to help people in distress. And I wanted to also to dive deeper to explore the ocean depths. And then I learned to fly because I wanted to understand the pilots' experiences. It felt like they have their own language when speaking. And once I've learned to fly myself, I understood how difficult it is to put into words on how to land an aircraft, to maneuver between what the aircraft is capable, what the wind is doing, how hot is the ground and radiating heat. Or maybe it's wet, maybe it's dark. And through all of that, I also wanted to dive in to study well-being practices across cultures, to understand altered states of consciousness and spontaneous healings that we are capable of. And on that path, it took me to learn Korean medicine, which does have components of acupuncture, but also moving with breath. So to redirect the energy and empower clients and ourselves to heal. And these diverse paths have shown to me that the capacity to integrate extraordinary experiences relies on our ability to navigate both outer and inner cosmos. And what connects all of these domains is the challenge of articulating profound experiences that exist beyond ordinary language. Whether it is an astronaut returning from space and encountering something that is unexplainable to them, or someone experiencing a profound spiritual awakening, the struggle to integrate and express these experiences is remarkably similar. And that's what we are exploring today, how this ancient practice of breathwork, only now recognized by science, offers a natural gateway for navigating these steps. And on the picture, you can see Al Worden, who was the commander module pilot of Apollo 15. So he's in the middle of the photograph in the center. And en route home from the moon, still nearly 200,000 miles from Earth, exactly 198 and 800 miles, Al performed the first ever spacewalk that was in not around our Earth low orbit. And he retrieved film cassettes from cameras in the scientific instruments module on that spacecraft. And I've also been fortunate to speak to Alexei Leonov, who was the first person ever to walk in space. And I urge you to listen to these individuals on how they speak about these experiences, because they changed them forever, and also it changes us as humanity. And my journey into breathwork practice began with a challenge. Highly trained observers, pilots, astronauts, surgeons frequently encounter experiences that they could not articulate. And these experiences weren't lacking reality. They simply existed beyond ordinary and professional language, like the underground rivers flowing beneath the consciousness. I wanted to compare this to the enormity of our blue planet that is covered by 70% by water. And this is just a beautiful comparison to a human endeavor of ocean exploration and how much of our inner cosmos we as humanity are yet to explore consciously. And the Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, who is also a PhD, a doctor, a scientist, he worked for US Navy as oceanographer, but also he led people as a superintendent of the US National Observatory. So not only he was looking into the depth of the ocean, he has also looked out in the cosmos. And he led National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And he said only 5% of the ocean volume is explored. And just as 95% of our oceans remain unexplored, the depth and breadth of our pre-verbal knowing awaits discovery. And as Dan Brulé, whom I will mention often today, is a master of breathwork, is my teacher, and I quote frequently him, because he just has this eloquency into getting it right to the point. And he says, we can't heal what we won't feel. And I would offer to add one more step from feeling to communicating our experiences. And this is the gap where my current work is focused on, articulating the extraordinary experiences. And the breathwork creates channels for experiences to flow naturally from the depth of consciousness to the pre-verbal knowing of our ability to understand the meaning of it, and following the path of transformation, which very much takes place, and put it into words and communicate it. And through examples, we will be exploring this today. And epiphanies in scientific discoveries, transformative spiritual and anomalous experiences have been reported throughout human history and are far more common than we might think. And according to surveys, 3 in 4 people in the United States believe in paranormal phenomena. These range from mystical encounters to unexplainable phenomena, and sometimes these are just profound moments of feeling connection, of being connected. And the American Psychological Association recognizes that such experiences can significantly impact individuals' lives, that challenges their understanding of reality, leading to transformative change throughout their life, rippling to all aspects. Yet many keep these experiences private, lacking framework for integration or fear of judgment, which is what happens in my circle of work, at least in the professional field. And Dr. Diana Pasulka and Dr. Jeff Crable are both professors of religious studies. They document such experiences in original texts and diaries of saints throughout human history. And every culture touched in that I touched in my lifetime and travels have these experiences, and community practitioners in those cultures guide and help people navigate through these experiences and integrate them into their everyday life. And I feel it is central to my work to find tools and practices to help people transform and move from the age of isolation and confusion about their experience to finding meaningful contexts for integration, and for every individual to incorporate these profound moments into their lives' narratives without diminishing the mystery or the moving power of that experience or the feelings. And I've watched pilots struggle to describe the anomalous phenomena, and they will all start. I have flown on so many aircrafts. I have so many thousands of hours. I've been trusted with this enormous machinery and people that I transport. And astronauts fall silent when attempting to convey something that is referred to as overview effect, meaning looking onto the Earth and seeing how small and fragile it is, and how a thin sliver of the atmosphere is actually making life possible. Surgeons that are unable to explain how they just knew to change their approach during a complex procedure, saving life. And without integration, these experiences remain isolated fragments. And when experiences exceed language capacity, we often face several challenges. We feel isolated, we doubt ourselves, and we also compartmentalize our experiences away from our awareness. And yet the body remembers, and even what the mind can't name. And these experiences live in our nervous system and affect our well-being, whether we can articulate them or not. And I urge us to look at this, just as Albert Einstein noticed, is that most beautiful things we can experience are mysterious. And when extraordinary experiences enter our ordinary life, they often catalyze profound shifts. And consider the recent interview of a helicopter pilot, Jake Barber, first reported on the News Nation, who described an encounter with what he perceived as a non-human intelligence. he said, I felt like something connected with me, like a frequency I was connected with. And this fundamentally altered his sense of purpose. And I would like to read it with you together. What he said verbatim. It was very feminine energy. I tell you that it felt like a spirit of God, but not in a masculine sense that I had ever felt. It was like, again, the feeling of my mother, a daughter, beauty. And it wasn't like it was like a frequency that I was connected with. I felt like something had tuned into me, my soul, and was providing me with some sense of guidance. And similarly to astronaut experiences, the overview effect report profound changes in the sense of interconnectedness with everything in our world. And as Apollo astronaut Edgar Mitchell noted, it is the same experience, but we experience it differently. Equally, we communicate this differently. And this observation that similar experiences can manifest through different expressions is central to what I'm interested, but also to understand how these can be integrated. And through experiences of helping pilots to articulate this preverbal knowledge and working with breath, we're able to fine-tune and help people transform from confusion to with these profound encounters, to recognizing them as a potential catalyst for expanded awareness and also understanding of ourselves, our place in the universe, and so that every person can honor their experience while they find their authentic way to express it and integrate it into their life. So I invite you to look at this interview on News Nation, recorded by Ross Colhart on January 24th, 2025. And recent research published in the journal Nature in spring this year, in April 25, provides a fascinating insight into breathwork and its physiological mechanism. Havenith and colleagues demonstrated that circular breathwork, which is the type of practice that I'm incorporating into helping people to articulate their experience, induces controlled hypocapnia, which is reduced CO2 level, which is correlating with altered state of consciousness, which is comparable to entering this particular altered state through other modalities. And this state facilitates neural plasticity and helps people to digest and reconsolidate complex experiences. And during circular breathing, we also see an increase in alpha and theta brainwave activity, which is similar to what we measure in deep meditation. And this practice is enhanced by production of a brain-derived neurotropic factor, which is BDNF. It's supporting new neural connections. And by through breathwork, we're able to alternate the stimulation of sympathetic and parasympathetic systems, which creates something that scientists call a pivotal mental states, a condition where our neuroplasticity at its absolute maximum, where reorganization of experiences becomes possible. And I found working with breathwork impacts our state of mind in the session, but also, now confirmed through scientific studies, it has the potential to rewire our brain for lasting positive change, which I do see reported by people working with breathwork. And breathwork practice allows the production of this critical protein that supports neural growth, connectivity, and also helps our resilience. And these changes help individuals access and integrate previously isolated experiences, leading to greater emotional regulation, but also coherence in personal narrative. And overall, breathwork fosters mental clarity, it reduces stress, and also helps with psychological resilience, making it absolutely valuable for both personal growth and also as a therapeutic intervention. And we don't need to go far, but science often proves what ancient wisdom and traditions sacredly passed through generations. And through human history, across vastly different cultures, breath has been recognized as a primary bridge between consciousness or conscious and unconscious states. And like tides connecting shore to ocean, breath connects awareness to deepest knowing. And ancient traditions offer rich diversity, all ultimately developed to strengthen our self-healing power, but also improve our health. And there is many books that you can now find how breath improves our well-being. And it also was preserved as a practice to assist in self-realizations for those who are looking for it. So higher states of consciousness. And pranayama, which might be more familiar, it's more known in the West right now, is a yogic tradition for energy control. There is also a Tibetan Buddhism practice called Tumo, which is generating inner heat and raising normal body temperature to the level of feeling the fever. It's best known in the West because it has this unusual ability where the Tibetan monks practice drying wet sheets in cold temperatures. And my personal experience in Korean medicine called sujok, but the moving practice is called samwon-dong, that allows, through integrating the breathing and twisting movements, allows the meditative state redirect the energy, just like in Tai Chi, through coordinated breath, and allow the person to have this tool accessible wherever they are. So our breath is something that we carry with us. It's a tool. And in ancient traditions of Sufi breathing practices, synchronized breath with movement also does induce mystical states. And it is also a sacred practice. And as a Korean medicine practitioner, I've experienced firsthand how specific breathing patterns combined with particular movement can redirect energy flow and heal physical traumas that are received 10 years ago, where modern medicine prescribes lifetime medications. And I practiced it on my own to empower self-healing. And these practices don't develop by accident, they emerged through millennia of careful observation, and also because these practices worked. They were kept secret and passed on through a lineage. And beautifully captured the core of breathwork mastery by Leonard Orr, the founder of Rebirth breathwork. Learning to merge the outer breath, which is air, with inner breath, which is spirit. And in science, we are still not quite ready to touch the depth of what these experiences are. And we mostly investigate them through anthropology, through storytelling, and also historically. But what I'm interested is that the current Western form of breathwork that was developed by Leonard Orr, refined by practitioners like Dan Brulé, called rebirth breathwork, or Dan prefers to call it breath therapy or breath mastery, involves a circular connected breathing without pause, and it is connecting to a feeling of a flow, like a river flowing continuously without obstruction, where the breath comes like water, finding its own level, creating conditions where what has been held beneath can surface gently and rise to their awareness when we are ready. And the technique is deceptively simple, but yet very profound. And through this continuous flow, without pause, between inhale and exhale, we are creating this continuous circle of breath. And then describes breathwork is about connecting to our source, to the spirit of life within us and around us. And it becomes like a dance of doing and being, doing the breathing and being breathed. Through circular breath, we are accessing deeper dimension of our personal experience without struggling or striving. We create an invitation to whatever needs to emerge to do so naturally, without forcing the process. And based on my work with individuals processing extraordinary experiences, I've observed 5 natural stages in this integrating journey. And like a water path from the mountain spring to the ocean, I found the analogy that is helpful to show us the transition between stages while we integrate and transform. And not everyone moves through all stages, but it is appropriate when the person is ready to integrate this, because it is a unique experience, both the one that they had and also the transformative journey that's taking place. And these 5 rivers or path represents first a self-recognition, acknowledging one's experience without needing to fully understand it. Second, we find voice, a language that begins to form around previously ineffable experiences, those that we couldn't express. Then there is a point of sacred sharing, and perhaps the words are not quite right yet, but with carefully selected sharing with trusted others, it becomes possible, sometimes through listening, and that helps to articulate our experiences. The next is community witnessing. It's finding resonance with others who appreciate that experience. And then the step which kind of opens doors for humanity is contributing to the knowing, to the humanity knowledge, and sharing this integrated wisdom to a broader communities. And this integration is not about forcing understanding, but allowing the natural wisdom to flow. The first stage involves creating internal safety to fully acknowledge what has been experienced, and for pilots reporting anomalous encounters, and for practitioners experiencing themselves unexplainable phenomena or helping others, this means overcoming this professional concern about credibility and creating a relationship with experience itself. And during this phase, we are focusing on the body safety through techniques like heart-centered circular breathing, where the practitioner simply notices what arises, sensations, emotions, images, memories. All of that has meaning, but does not need to be interpreted. There is no need for immediate rationalization. They need to recognize or explain it. This is about being present with the experience rather than immediately trying to understand it. And at this stage, I help people transform from denial or minimization of the experience to gentle, curious acknowledgement, so that they can begin integrating what has been encountered without immediate pressure to explain or rationalize it. It's about breathing into spaces that feel frozen and numb, just like in this caterpillar, and let the process take its natural course of becoming a butterfly, being able to freely move and fly. And the next stage is finding voice. And the breathwork supports creating neural pathways, connecting this pre-verbal knowing with language centers. And this is where pilots who have encountered unexplained phenomena begin finding words for observation, where practitioners are able to articulate the sense of energy or some unexplainable occurrence that happened during their work, or something they knew before client was able to express, or they knew what they needed to do and they did not know how, but that led to a positive outcome. And the first language that usually emerges is often metaphorical, poetic, and seemingly paradoxical rather than linear, just like we observed in Jack's barber explaining his encounter. And I'm sure that was not even the first time when Jake was explaining that. And Pilot might describe an encounter not in a technical terms, but it would be like swimming in liquid light or as if time folded on itself. And these are not evasions, but rather the most accurate expressions available to the experience to be, because it exceeds the conventional language. And at this stage, we work and breathe around the edges or around the concept that we are forming to explain. And it's difficult to express, and we're gently approaching them without forcing articulation. And I help people transform from this frustrated silence to wanting to authentically express and honoring time to find that voice in the process that unfolds in its own time. And often it begins with language that seems inadequate to express that profound feeling that they had or the experience that they went through. But gently approaching that without forcing the articulation. And the third stage involves carefully selecting the sharing context. And as beautifully put by personhood Jim Leonard, who created the vibration breathwork, it says that context is a cause of our happiness and unhappiness. And the context of where the experience is shared, that it should not be dismissed or pathologized. And for astronauts processing what the experience was, whether it was a profound overview effect experience or other realizations, this might be shared first with fellow space travelers before attempting to convey even to the family. And the critical aspect of supporting the integration is creating space for meaningfully to emerge, for the meaning to emerge naturally without imposing interpretation. And this is particularly crucial when working with extraordinary experiences, which often challenge conventional framework. And I help people transform from feeling pressured to explain the experience, to honor the mystery with them, because it's not my experience and we don't know, and putting our words to their experience diminishes what might have been expressed, or when it's ready, then it would be expressed to its fullness, and providing almost like a container where meaning can unfold at its own pace. And this means resisting the urge to categorize and interpret the experience through our own filters, and instead allowing each person to discover the significance that resonates with their deeper knowing. And as a practitioner, our role is not to tell someone what they're experiencing or what it really was, but to create conditions where its meaning can naturally emerge. It's like a river finding its own course rather than being artificially channeled. And breathwork techniques do support this stage, including the grounding practice before and after sharing, and maintaining the connection with breath throughout the period of integration. So it's a tool that the person takes home, and they were able to also to use it in this sharing space and through the sharing process itself. And the next stage is community witnessing. So this is not about yet sharing this with the world, but it involves bridging the integrated experiences to groups who can appreciate and help to put a context to them. And this doesn't necessarily mean finding others who had identical experiences, but rather communities that are open to extraordinary possibilities. This is like what we just discussed about the container, where it's all is possible and doesn't need to be classified. And this is where something profound and healing could happen, when we are discovering that we are not alone through these experiences and that others navigate similar territory, and even if the details are different. And when shared in the community, individual experiences contribute to this collective knowing and wisdom. And collective wisdom enhances understanding of individual experiences. And we find words, we find that we connect with feelings that we haven't been able to quite express, or we are allowed to stay in that feeling until it becomes possible to articulate it. And these mutual enrichments create what I call a resonant integration, where where that individual person's meaning is amplified through connection rather than being diluted. And group breathwork, if there is such an opportunity, creates a particularly powerful container for this process. And when we breathe together in a synchronized pattern, we create a shared field that can hold even the most challenging and extraordinary experiences. And I've witnessed remarkable moments of collective understanding emerging in these settings, where words became almost unnecessary. And I help the people to transform that feeling that I'm the only one into finding resonance with others and creating a nourishing environment where individuals experience and contribute to this collective understanding. And the fifth stage, of course, not final, because we keep integrating and transforming, but it is appropriate and not for everyone. And it involves in contributing this integrated knowing to broader audience. And this might mean that it is shared with researchers, or maybe researchers themselves have these experiences and they share their findings. And experiences offer testimonials, and practitioners develop new models for understanding. This is where data can be collected and beginning to integrate together, which is a very important step, because our experiences make us act, make us do other things in life that we wouldn't have either thought about or done given our experience. And for example, beautifully so, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the Apollo astronaut, founded the Institute of Noetic Science after his lunar experience, which exemplifies the stage where his personal experience became a foundation for research that benefited many. And in fact, this institute still operates and still on the edge of science, something that the science still wouldn't touch, but have been able to acclimatize or help the science to see that we apply the same tools. We can see that these extraordinary experiences can be studied. And similarly, many breathwork practitioners find their own integrating journey also naturally involves into sharing these practices with others. And for example, Chris Hadfield, the Canadian astronaut, who is also an ISS commander and a musician, and also presented publicly a lot of scientific topics and the awe about the value of our environment, and panel on BBC Science and National Geographic, and over the years found more and more ways to share the experience, because it was integrated inside, and speaking about it helped to articulate its profound meaning. And this integrated knowledge transformed both Chris and those whom he communicates with. It connected humanity, and you can find him probably on any corner of the earth. He's currently on tour as well. And I urge you to attend his I guess talks, where he speaks so eloquently about his experience. and the importance of connectedness and our planet. And I help people to transform from this hesitation to confident offering, ensuring that they maintain this authentic connection to their experience while translating it in ways that can benefit others. And the breath serves as a constant anchor during this process and keeping the person connected to their direct experience while sharing this. It doesn't detract, but instead allows to distill that wisdom, that inner knowing. But what is vital here is that what distinguishes the wisdom contribution from premature sharing is the degree of integration that precedes it. And I would like to talk about the pilot's journey through breathwork, and that encountering with the challenge where the reality itself is challenged, or how they know and understand physical reality, because these are often flight characteristics that they have never encountered, or in the pilot's mind it's not possible. And initially being caught between this professional expectation and personal inner truth, we are often inside open to possibilities, even if we can't explain them. And actually there's a beautiful saying by Nisargadatta Maharaj, who talks about the people who are wise are those who can hold together the contradictory concepts in their mind. And the professional people, when they become compartmentalized in their experience, it creates fragmentation inside, and also fragmentation in relationships and in their professional work. And what happens that attempts to discuss these experiences with colleagues are still met to date with uncomfortable jokes and dismissal, reinforcing this isolation. And through 6, or I find that minimum of 6 breathwork sessions, they start to first emerge with acknowledgement with the experience without the pressure to explain it, and gradually developing a language. And by about 4th or 5th session, they begin to explicate the sensations, and deeper knowing starting to emerge, and the reporting of feeling whole again, and able to hold both the direct observation and also professional identity simultaneously. And the person's feelings are transformed from confusion and self-doubt to clarity and acceptance, and eventually feeling the comfortable documenting these observations that are hard to put into words initially. They even go and document them officially. And integration does not demand explanation. It's, to start with, is only honest acknowledgement. And similarly, in the medical profession, these experiences happen too. They also encounter with the phenomena defying explanation. And initially, these experiences are diminished when shared with medical colleagues, creating this painful split that undermines person's abilities. And through regular breath work, there is a possibility to acknowledge this intuitive perception without justification. And a woman I worked with found a language of honoring both scientific understanding and intuitive knowing, because once we're able to hold these impossibilities, we then find the connections and start looking and asking questions through curiosity. And we actually often do find the scientific explanation. But it's not necessary to have it right away. And this is the challenge, is that our mind and a professional environment expects us to know on the spot. And this doesn't help to integrate and transform and really not dismiss the experience and the profound impact. And we are often missing the detail that might be meaningful in our joint human understanding, what this means for us and what are these experiences. And this woman transformed through breathwork from hiding her full experience to confidently embodying both intuitive and intellectual capacities. And like a river finding its natural course, her professional identity expanded because she could hold both the mystery and the measurable outcome. And today, she serves as a bridge between the conventional and contemporary approaches, helping clients integrate their own healing journey and also colleagues who are now able to share with her, while continually to deepen her understanding of this interface between the intuition and intellect, the mystery and fact. And both examples demonstrate that how breathwork can create integration without demanding explanation and allowing the experience to retain their integrity while becoming incorporated into our or one's broader understanding. So it's beautiful that we can help people be bridges between the conventional and contemporary approaches. And mastery of breath offers this natural pathway from fragmentation when we are in pieces to wholeness. And I witnessed people transform from being haunted by their unexplained experience to profound meaning in them. And when life, looking backwards, makes sense, from feeling isolated in their knowing to sharing inner realization that benefits others. Because when we share, we connect with other people, maybe with something that the other person was unable to even touch without hearing other person speak about it. And from rigid certainty, what it was or wasn't, or anxious doubt, to a comfortable dwelling in mystery, because we don't need to know answers to everything. And mystery, just as Einstein at the very beginning that I quoted, actually leads us to curiosity and innovation, something that we want to dive deeper and to inquire, to ask deeper questions. And this is how we actually tackle depression, through curiosity. And depression is the disease of our generation. And we, through breath, bridge the gap between the somatic experience and cognitive understanding. And it would be very helpful here to expand on very old Sufis saying. So Rumi, a Sufi mystic and poet, said that your task is not to seek for love, but to merely seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. And extending this to breath, that breath is like water, naturally seeking balance and integration. And our work is to simply remove the obstacles and allow the natural flow to happen. And through breath work, I help people connect with their breath and empower them to transform from a contracted state of fear or confusion about their extraordinary experiences to expanded awareness that incorporates these experiences into a richer understanding of reality, but also that it can give life greater authenticity and wholeness. And for those who are interested in exploring breath mastery, work for integration, I offer both individual and group session specifically designed for this purpose. And my approach follows this gentle stage process where we don't have to articulate. We give time to find our voice, to discover, to familiarize, to dive deeper into that integration through connection through our breath, and using the breath as a mastery technique, developing these personal strategies for the future, for future ongoing integration that helps in all parts of our life. And I would like to thank you for synchronously, maybe you've noticed, maybe you're not, breathing with me today, when you might have held your breath when resonating with my experience or being mesmerized, maybe inhaling when wishing to contribute to something, or exhaling when resting into the deep knowing with me today. And I welcome your questions about how this work might serve your unique journey. And you may wish to explore your experiences through breathwork and connect with me below. You can read what I keep a diary on Substack, or you might would like to find out more about breath on my blog, and where I am exploring how we connect our inner cosmos and outer cosmos. So finding ways to connect and enjoy your breath.